Hello and welcome to My Finance YouTube channel on this beautiful day of 5th of March 2017. Let's have a look again at gold, both in the short term and in the medium term. Over the last several days, we've seen a decrease in the gold price from around the level of 1260 to around 1225, where we are at the moment. And although I still believe that we are in the advancing phase of this intermediate cycle that started in December last year, we have been experiencing this decline because I think we are trying to reach for the bottom within this shorter cycle, often called the daily cycle. So these intermediate cycles in gold that last for about half a year consist of several shorter cycles that last for about a month or a month and a half or so. Maybe up to 2 months. I believe we had a first daily cycle here, finishing late January, and we're about to finish the second daily cycle and find the bottom. If we look at the previous intermediate cycle in gold that lasted from June to December last year, again we see price moving up and down, with these daily cycles lasting for about a month or a month and a half. This last one was rather long, starting in early October, and finishing in mid-December last year. So that took about 2.5 months. So for that reason, I think we are experiencing this decrease in gold price over the last several days, and that decrease might continue for another few days next week. Now let's have a look at Fibonacci retracement levels for this last daily cycle, beginning end of January last year, and end of January this year, of course. And if we look at these Fibonacci retracement levels, we'll see that this decline over the last few days has retraced 50% of the previous rally that started in late January. And 50% Fibonacci retracement number is a strong support and resistance zone. In this case, it might act as a support zone since we're approaching from the top. Another possible strong support zone could be the 62% retracement number. So next week, early next week, we're either going to see a rebound up in the gold price, or gold might continue decreasing for another few days until we reach this 62% Fibonacci retracement at the price of around 1215 or so. And then we will enter the new daily cycle, which will take the gold price higher. Hopefully higher than this top we've seen so far of around 1264. Now that moves us to the next subtopic of medium-term outlook for gold price, and we'll move on to this weekly chart of gold. On the weekly chart, we see that the relative strength index is still close to neutral levels. It's at around 52. Over here it shows about 52. However, last week we've reached a level of higher than 61, around 61, which is still not overbought, but there is a small potential, there is a small chance that last week was the top in this intermediate cycle in gold. However, I think it's only a 20% chance or so. I still believe that we're in the advancing phase of an intermediate cycle, and this cycle will continue for another few weeks, giving us a price above at least 1270. And if we look at this downward trend of the previous intermediate cycle, usually the next cycle, the advancing phase of the next cycle, will break through the declining phase of the previous one. So we should break through this trend and go to the price levels of at least 1270 and higher over the next several weeks. So that is the outlook which is also supported by what I think we see in the dollar. This is a weekly chart of the dollar. In May last year, we started this intermediate cycle in dollar, which I think topped at the beginning of January last year, and we're now in the declining phase of the dollar intermediate cycle. We've seen a counter rally over the last few weeks. However, I think this counter rally has exhausted. If we look at the daily chart, Friday was a down day for dollar, and that might signal the continuation of this declining trend, of the continuation of the declining phase of this intermediate cycle in dollar, which generally lasts for about a year, and we still have a few more weeks until the normal length of the dollar intermediate cycle. Now that has been my outlook for short-term and medium-term performance in gold. If this has been interesting, you might consider subscribing to the channel. Remember, this is not investment advice. However, I do wish you luck.